Hey, so who do we have in the studio this time?
It is Devault. I am here with Nocturnal Productions. I am very pleased with Kane, with Rico, the man behind the camera, and with Taylor. There are big things coming. We're going to be working together and coordinating. We're both going to elevate each other. And yeah, lots of publicity coming soon, lots of shows, a few albums. And yeah, thank goodness for these guys because they're helping the vision come to life. So trust in the vision. So the name Devault originated back during my time in Technicolor when we first started it back in 2017 going into 2018. I was in a hip hop duo with my best friend at the time, G Twist, and he helped me come up with the name. It's a play off the word default, so it's admitting your mistakes, like there's something wrong, but also it's a play off of like vaulting something out. It's like devault. It's the way to get things off your mind and to let people know what you're feeling. So you have the freedom of expressing yourself, but also the cognizance of knowing that you're probably making a mistake and letting people down. You're aware of yourself and who you are. So it's a duality between the two. It's a crowd singing along like, oh, don't shoot me down, I'm wild and loud, just break my heart, yeah, cut it out. You hear my voice, just noise and sound, we're all dead in this desert town. So the album, in its most current form and the final form, is Icarus Falls. The original name was going to be called The People. So after Technicolor disbanded, I wanted to involve as many people as possible in this project. I wanted to take influences that were outside of the hip-hop game, outside of the rock and roll game, bring all different types of influences together. So this album really represents an evolution of the self, an evolution of the music scene, and an evolution of what it means to be human. And I'm sure we'll get into the concept of Icarus and that'll listen a bit, but the main thing is, yeah, it's a concept album, and it's about moving on, moving forward, and recognizing what's true within yourself and leaving all the other shit behind. Don't shoot me down, I'm wild and loud, just break my heart, yeah, cut it out. You hear my voice, just noise and sound, we're all dead in this desert. We're all dead! I still remember what she said. Maybe cut that out. Yeah, I was just improvising there. But yeah, maybe cut out those last names.
I mean, I might have a way of.
Or if there's a way to distort it, reverb it, and amplify it like it's in a concert hall.
Yeah,
that's like pretty much what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Without that, it sounds shallow and weird.
So Leon the Prophet, what'd you think?
I'm impressed, dude. Honestly, I'm impressed.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, I Carried Us Into the Sun. This is the leading single from the album. The meaning behind this song evolved. And to really do it justice, Bright Eyes is one of my favorite acoustic and indie bands. So the beat is sampled off of a Bright Eyes song, which is, I believe it's called Lover I Don't Wanna Love. And the song evolves so much because I'm thinking about this, and I wrote this song at Buckland Park down here in my car on a rainy day, and it adds to the aesthetic of it so much. The song is about an abusive relationship. It tells the story of a woman who's in an abusive relationship, and she decides to eventually turn the tables on the guy who she's in a relationship with. And she ends up pretty much defying him, and you could say emotionally killing him at the end. But the story also pays homage to the Imperial Valley. Like, we're stuck down here in this endless cycle of repetition, of feeling like we don't belong, of feeling like things don't matter, when in actuality we need to find that power and to bring it out and to show that we're worth something down here. And then on a deeper level and on a personal level, it tells the story of one of my past relationships I was in with a woman, and basically I was a piece of shit in a relationship, and she realized it, and was coming to terms with realizing that, hey, I was a piece of shit at this time, and being able to own that and to learn from it. But it's also a very feminist song as well. Like, people rise up. It's also a self-hatred song too. It's everything put into one, but it is probably the most powerful song on the album, I believe. And I carried us into the sun. The name, if you think about it, I carried us, Icarus. I carried us, Icarus is contained within that title into the sun. Icarus flies too close to the sun, he burns himself. That's it. I mean, it's about knowing your faults and being able to be man enough to own them.
So far, how is your experience here at Nocturnal?
You know, Nocturnal's the future.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna dominate. You guys are gonna dominate. And I'm more than excited to be a part of the family. So thank you all so much for inviting me into the experience, and we're gonna make this big. It's just a start.
Well, what are the vocals like on this song? Is it just singing? Or
It's a mix of everything again. Yeah, so singing, kind of singing hip hop, and then it gets elevated a bit. This is the other one that's kind of like high energy. But this is the one that I was gonna scrap when you said, hey, don't scrap that. Like, this is one of your favorites, I think, that I sent to you.
Which one?
I need to rename it, but Eyes Lit Up Like Candles. It's the one, You Haven't Slept Since California. I knew you were a liar. I fucking knew it. Fuck all those nights in movies, all those nights we spent together, all those long drives looking in the eyes in stormy weather. Hold on, I gotta cut it there. Am I out of tune? Yeah, you guys are right. It has to be more chill. Oh yeah, I hear it. Yeah. Alright, try it again. Every time you brushed my hair away and said that I was pretty, we'd laugh and cry and fuck and walk around the city. You would hold your mind in mine and now it fuck. God damn it.
Oh, dude, hey, that was those bars were hard.
Was that more in tune, kind of?
It was more in tune.
Yeah, but still sucked.
Yeah.
Maybe a little higher too. Let's see. A love letter and blood. No, fuck it. One more time. No, let's not go fucking hard. California Ghost. Man, so that's the other relationship song on the album. California Ghost is, I wrote that during a time of self-reflection. It's about being in a relationship, and it's like, one of the main lines in it is, I hope you never find love. So it's a conversation, it's dialogue between the woman and the man. And the first, it opens up with a love letter written in blood left on the counter, right? So it's like, relationships are so diabolical sometimes, and it's an ongoing fight for some relationships between a woman and a man. And you can't reconcile the things that have been done during the time that you all are together. And then one of the lines in the song is, I hope you never find love. So she tells that to him. It's like, he took advantage of her. I hope you never find love. I think that's the coolest statement you could ever tell someone. It's like, imagine being told, I hope you never find love. That's the ultimate condemnation. So that's part one of the song. And so it's this dialogue between the narrator and the woman that he's associated with. But after that, in part two of the song, it transfers, and it's about moving on. Life is about progression, so you can't be stuck in a certain negativity. The first half is negative, second part is positive. How do you move on from the atrocities that you've committed in your younger years? And that's what it's all about. You move on, California Ghost. It's the ghost of feelings that you had. And I'm from California, so yeah, I mean, it's pretty, self-explanatory. Onto this you fucked it up and you cursed the kiss you. Took your shot, you aimed and missed you. Tainted all of the wine with piss you. My son, what have you done to this you? Fucked it up and you cursed the kiss you. Took your shot, you aimed and missed you. Tainted all of the wine with piss. You haven't slept since California. You haven't slept since California. You haven't slept since California. You haven't slept since California.
First, 10 words was fine, and then you.
I got way off.
And
I
then.
get way off.
yeah, kind of.
That's why the singing I'm not as comfortable with is like.
And
I'm
then
rapping.
the I hope you never find love, you were like, I hope, or something. I was like, why are you saying I hope? Like,
I hope.
It was,
Yeah,
it was dumb. of you.
Hope.
And then right after that, you did really well, and then I don't know about the
Should we do it again?
I think you meant it. I know you meant it. We went night swimming in a bubble bath. That was
Yeah.
I hope it's so stupid. Sorry. Like this part. Wait.
So enunciate more. I hope. You haven't slept since California. Oh God, no. Fuck, that's bad. So the story of Icarus and Daedalus in ancient mythology is so Daedalus is Icarus's father. And Icarus flies too close to the sun, he gets his wings burned, he got too ambitious, and he plummets to his death into the oceans. And then Daedalus spends the rest of his life after realizing his faults. It takes the death of his son to realize that he fucked up, that he let everything get, the worldly desires get to his head. And he spends the rest of his life in a personal hell based off of his son's death. And the mythology really played a big part in this album. Originally, the album was going to be called, The People, Daedalus's Morning Sickness in 6 Acts. And I wanted to play off of the fact that, my time spent in Technicolor, you have Daedalus and Icarus. Basically, I felt more like Icarus. There was another member of Technicolor, G Twist, and he let his ambitions get to himself more than he should have, and he started making big mistakes. He started taking advantage of other people, taking advantage of friendships, family, and the friends I introduced himself to. And so I wanted to expose that on one level. And it's like, just that disappointment. It's like, man, what would your father think? Like, what would other people in the music industry think? What do your friends think? Like, how can you be that selfish? I mean, taking all that into consideration, not only the symbolism behind, mine and Garrett's relationship, but I could be Icarus myself. I made a lot of mistakes in my life. And it's time to come to terms with those. And to not only apologize to the people who I made mistakes to, but to really recognize who you are as an individual and as a person, and to bring that to light. So a lot of the songs in this album are moody, but they range from different emotions. So this album is a true representation of who I am at this point in my life. I'm Icarus, but I'm also Daedalus. I'm both parts of this equation, and it's going to create the story behind the album.
Who do we have here in the studio again?
Devault, back for round 2.
A
little under the weather, but it's been a good session so far.
Hey, who knows, man?
We're making good time, too.
2 songs.
Yeah, we had 2. So at the end of the session, yeah. And I think, we just got an hour and 10 minutes left in us, right? To mess around with? You said till 3:30, sorry.
Yeah, so
an hour. And Kane himself is going to be providing some background vocals for a couple of the tracks on the album.
Oh,
so, there you go.
special guest appearance by Kane? Yes.
Cocaine?
It's like the co-part of the project.
Yeah. Let's do this. Hit it.
So for the Deadpool Wig, I wanted to throw back and to do an homage to my younger years. Basically like skateboarding. Skateboard culture has been big in my life. And pretty much like the nihilism of your younger years. You're 17, 18 years old, all the way through mid-20s, and it's like, not giving a fuck. Like, you skate around, you have fun with your friends, but also taking into consideration, like, the different aspects of your city. One of the lines in the song, it talks about, like the whores and the addicts trying to pay their rent, drug dealers by Circle K's. Like, we grew up watching this shit down here in the valley. And so it's really kind of giving a shout out to the people who can't quite fend for themselves or who may have fallen into hardships. At the same time, like, I've associated with that. It's like I've had hard times in my own life, spending time on the streets, in LA, Sacramento, out in Phoenix. So it's really a shout out, like the dead will wake. Like, we may be the Walking Dead right now, but you know what? We're gonna rise up and we're gonna overcome, reconnect with who we once were, and fucking live out the punk rock life. That's what it's about.
Turning back, spent my last dollar on a Jesus Christ candle, lit a cigarette and smoked my last holy camel. To high school years, my 9 beers handle, art like a motherfucker walking in my sandals. Circle K artists in the alleys with the vandals.
I've left all the lyrics up on this page.
You know that Daedalus can dispossess the sound on the way. Artists, why?
The ending's good though, the way. Alright, so the Revolution Clause is Custom Aries. So this is one of the first tracks written for the album. I'm an Aries. And the Revolution Clause is basically, it's my call to arms. It is a track based off of my time spent in Technicolor. And all I'll say behind this track for this interview is that the words will speak for themselves,
Hey, Ryan.
No, go. No, go.
Let's play it.
Content. Ooh.
This is kind of like. Is this like trap or rap?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like trap. Okay. All right.
Go.
Sorry, Ryan.
Profit.
Sorry, Ryan. I don't. Hope Kane doesn't charge you for this. Lay on the profit. No.
$30 right there.
Damn it! Like the drawing board. What were you saying though?
Yeah, that's good.
It was limited or something like that?
Yeah, that whoever made the beat, they put a limiter on it because if you can see right there, like the volume is barely moving. There's not a lot of dynamic range, and at a certain point, it just stops. So that means I'm gonna have a tough time getting his vocals to sit on top of this mix because it's already so loud.
Restart again. You did something right there that made it sound cooler, like a dial. Did you turn the dial right there?
I turned up the volume on the microphone.
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, that sounds cooler. That way, yeah. There's more.
He turns one dial, like, yo, do that again.
That was cool. Yeah, let's leave it right there. So the meaning behind Small Town Crook, again, it ties in with Revolution Clause. It's the idea behind the song is about someone who takes advantage of everything that you know and love. So for some people, you may introduce someone into your lives, or someone who you've known for a long time, and they're not who you thought they were, and they just steal everything from you, whether it's physically, emotionally, physiologically, like psychologically, everything. And they just take. And the idea is that instead of doing that, you should be giving to others, and you should be, like, if you're gonna be friends with someone, be real, be true. And if you can't, then, leave the town, you know? So Small Town Crook was about someone who basically is not respected in the end, and it turns out to be someone who is a complete sham. And the person who you thought they were, they're not that person. And then just hoping, not even hoping, but just knowing that karma will come back to them in the end. And that's what's important. Just be a good person, be the best possible version of yourself, and you'll be good. Time that he faces the people he's disgraced, and you can run, but you can hide from all of the things done in secret. Alright, so he runs to the races. Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, and play jazz with it, man. Like you'll hear
you
it.
got your shit on there recorded already, right?
Yeah, kinda.
Let me
Yeah,
just hear
very
shit.
badly.
Hear my fucking... It might not record all that.
He runs
There you go.
to the
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Ready?
Penis.
I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Fine day for chases.
That shit fell flat.
And he runs to the races. Fine day for the chases. I fucked up.
No, what the? No. That was beautiful.
Yeah, but instead of A.
Fine day for the chases.
I dig that.
Fucked up.
I don't dig that.
First part was good.
Put that back in the grave.
Hey, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good.
Alright, cool. So the next
So the second one?
Yeah, this is just worth it to actually see him actually trying to sing.
You know what? How about I stuff my dick in your throat and see if you can talk?
Yeah, I'll probably
Here's
still
the
talk.
thing, you won't be able to. It's a mouthful.
The meaning behind the vision. So now we're entering the more experimental part of the album. The vision I wrote with Mike Martinez, who is also my manager, Big Mike. We wrote a couple songs for the album. Some of them didn't make it onto the album, but the vision was one of the main ones. One of the first ones that he wrote the music for. And it's like 2 a.m. We're at my apartment and we're writing this shit. And magic happened. It's literally like we were listening to Fleetwood Mac, we were listening to like bluegrass music. It was crazy, like just different varieties of music coming in. And we wrote this song, and I was like, you know what? He played his beat, and I just started writing. And the main thing, trust in the vision. Like if you don't trust in your own vision, how are you gonna succeed? Like a lot of people may not dig this new music after Technicolor, which is basically hip hop. But in the end, it doesn't matter. You trust in your own vision. It doesn't matter what other people think. Like whatever you feel is right, follow your heart, do it right, and and you will prosper. And the song is about, it's pretty much like a hippie song. Basically be yourself and fuck the modern world.
Fell for a woman with a midnight nature, looked in her eyes and I tried to save her. Oh boy, was I wrong. Fell for a woman with a midnight nature, looked in her eyes and I tried to save her. God damn it, fuck it, let's go again. Alright,
Midnight Nature.
Restart.
Midnight Nature. I was like,
Restart.
What?
Fell for a woman with a midnight nature, looked in her eyes and I tried to save her. Oh boy, was I wrong. Fell for a woman that I felt, fucking asshole.
Fucking killed it right there. Was that better or no? Am I still off?
In the beginning, the humming was a little.
Should I just take the hums out? A little more in tune. That's a C, low C. You go to a G.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Let's try it. Are you recording?
No, but
Okay. Okay, so I'm tired of this shit tonight.
Wait, but hold on. If he was recording, he'd record all of that. It's like, it's a C.
It's a C goes to a G.
Hey. Alright, I'm ready.
Alright, let's try it.
I'm ready. Oh, okay.
Wait, I'm ready.
from Persona.
Are you fucking
From
serious? What the fuck does he want?
40 girls waiting for you.
I'll talk to him later. What the fuck?
Who is he? That is...
It's a long story. All I gotta say, that's a friend that's addicted to strip clubs. That's all I'm saying. No. We're like this guy will, and I won't get into it. Yes.
Yeah, I do it.
Dude, literally. Okay. Side story. Every story he starts with is like, so I was fucking this one bitch. Literally every story he has always starts with, so I was fucking this one bitch. Usually in the strip club or some shit. Anyways, go on.
Trust in the vision, trust in the vision. Trust in the vision, trust in the vision, hold me down. Listen off.
Now that was beautiful.
No, that was
That was beautiful.
I think it was better, but I'm not.
Not sold?
Yeah, and I think it just might be a matter of coming back another day because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounded really good, but
Might be the case.
not so.
Any of the singing songs are so much harder than just like straight hip hop songs, man.
I'll tell you. When I did that G-Funk song or whatever, dude, it took us like, what, 20 times?
Dude, we were...
Especially since I have a really deep voice too, it's hard for me to like...
well, it's not that your voice is deep; it's that you don't know how to sing.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually the case.
So the meaning behind the Metamorphosis, it's the last track on the album. Mike also did the music for that song, and we wrote that about 4 a.m. one night, and it took about 2 days of experimenting with different soundscapes. But I was listening to a lot of Tool at the time. I'm a huge fan of Tool and Maynard stuff, and also Kafka. So a lot of Kafka's quotes. I wanted to make a more academic song, and just his viewpoints on life. And it's like the meaning of life is that it stops. You know, the beginning of understanding is the wish to die. Like he was a nihilist, and those are some quotes that I put from Kafka in the song. But it's all about recognizing and coming to terms with yourself. It's a very Buddhist song, and realizing that all that you need to succeed is within yourself. You just have to identify your faults and to move on from those faults. And the Metamorphosis, you know, it's moving on from my times in Technicolor, moving on, becoming independent, being my own person, not relying on other people, but also realizing like, hey, yeah, you may have done some bad things in your past, but the future is never too judgmental if you make that conscious choice to progress and to be the best possible version of yourself again. Trusting in the essence.
Yeah, just a tad bit off.
Yeah,
It's a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. But I feel you would nail it, dude, like on the next day. And it's sick.
Tea, hot tea.
Yeah.
That's sick though. It's unique. I like it.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Now he has me wanting to like branch out and like try different styles.
You know those verses? It'll be like echoing, so it's like you're fading away and decaying, kind of. Picture like Tool, or like
Oh,
like, yeah.
You said the right word,
A
man.
perfect circle, yeah. Cool, and then today, that was a productive session. That was good.
Productive day, Devault.
Productive day, 4 tracks, the basics for 4 tracks, of course, we have a lot of more work to do on each track. 4 tracks down, that's half the album, and plus we had to get background vocals, so we'll get all that handled, and I may have to reduce some parts, but I'm not sick. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I've chosen to let go so I am free from yesterday's malicious hold on me. I can see, I feel the change taking over me. Hey, do me a favor. Let's redo the whole thing. I just realized I committed the same mistake I did last time. That footage is probably bad. So, yeah. I was off key. I forgot to pull the headphone off. This should be a one-take thing. Let's try it one more time. If not, I mean, I'm not concerned because this is the extra thing for this shit. I grab my coat and coffee, Kafka in my ear, beauty in the bleak, beauty in despair, a cold and common hunger, chill me to the bone. I felt the change within me, and I left without a home. Leave the past behind. Favorite song from this album is definitely I Carried Us Into the Sun. It was the first song recorded for this album. When I first joined up with Nocturnal Productions, it was the first song we recorded. We spent a full day doing this track, and it came out fucking beautifully. That's the only way I could characterize it. Influences behind it, Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, obviously, brand new. You know, it has that pop element, Lil Peep as well. It's just basically, you have this contrast, this dynamism between hip hop and grunge. And you know what? Like, it came out awesome. And it's one of the only songs that I constructed from the beginning of this album that made it to the final cut. You know, when I first started envisioning what this would be, it's one of 2 songs that made it through to the final edit, and it's fantastic, and I love it, and it is the main single. So the experience behind recording this album was unique. I searched and searched and searched and searched for people who could do this shit right. And it's all about vibes. It's all about who you connect with. So I went through a bunch of different people. I was scouting for a while, and I didn't know this album was not supposed to come out. It was not supposed to happen. After Technicolor, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm gonna sit it out. But I met the dudes from MPD. You know, I met Kane. I met Taylor. I met Rico, and we sat down one night in my studio, and magic happened. I didn't expect anything to happen. I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, I'm gonna have some beers and I'm gonna, you know, chill with these guys. I'll meet them, whatever. but it turned into something. At the end of that night, I knew that Nocturnal Productions was who I was going to go with. And I called up Mike, my manager, Michael Promotions, and I'm like, dude, we're back in the game. We're back in the game. Get ready. Because give me a few months. We're going to record this fucking album, and we're back on the road. Fuck what people know. The past is the past, but the future is the future. The future is MPD. The future is Devault, and the future is everyone involved. So either you're with us or you're not. And if you're not, I'm sorry for you.
You have a song that's not going to be on the album called Go Goodbye, so can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the song Good Goodbye, I wrote literally at 4 a.m. one night, and I called Taylor up, part of MPD, and I called him up and was like, dude, I have a genius song. It's something, it's not hip hop at all, but it's a throwback to like my old days of like skating again. Junior, senior year of high school, listening to From First to Last, listening to Under Oath, to those old school like hardcore but like emo bands as well, My Chemical Romance, all that shit. And so I wrote it. It's all clean vocals. It's gonna be a B-side to the album, Icarus Falls, and it's a standalone track, but it's basically about letting someone go and letting a part of yourself go. You gotta leave the past behind, man. You have to just embrace who you are now and who you're trying to be in the future. And you know what? Like, if someone's not with you on that, you gotta let them go and say goodbye. So there's vocal melodies. It's literally just an acoustic guitar on the track, and I think it's gonna hit hard. And I will be performing that at the first show that I did at Twilight.
So speaking of your first show, how do you feel about that on the 25th and 26th?
So the first show at Twilight, I'm very excited for it. It's been a long time in the making. It'll be my first solo show in a long time. In years, about a decade since my first solo show. But April 25th and 26th at Twilight here in El Centro. There's a lot of acts that are going to be performing. I'm pretty much spearheading the whole thing along with Nocturnal Productions. So MPD, you know, Kane, Taylor, Rico. We also have Split Thought out there. You know, we got Sean Jacob out there coming out. We have Myco Promotions, Mike, my manager. Triple Scoop Entertainment is going to be hosting and DJing throughout the night. And we have some fantastic acts coming out. The goal behind this is to bring out the best artistry across a multi-genre event, actually. So we have hip hop, we have punk rock, screamo, hip hop. I said hip hop. We have pop. We have vendors coming out. So Anthony Vargas with Question Skateboards. Split Dots gonna come out, like I said, with Rico. We have Moonlight Acrylics with Kat. We have Rab Slabs is scheduled to come out. We have I know Karina from Brawley. She has her refreshment stand coming out. We have, Alley Caps with Arnold the Author, who's also performing. And then besides that, you know, we for the music acts that are playing, I'm not going to list them all because I'm limited on time and I'm on the spot. But just know, great acts are coming out. There's 14, 15 acts. The flyers are being posted all over Facebook, all over Instagram. It's going to be the first show of its kind. It's a 2-night event, April 25th, 26th. Please come out and support. A lot of upcoming acts are coming out. And Nocturnal Productions is throwing its first official show, which I'm excited to be a part of because they helped me through this. And so, come out to the show and let's make some magic happen. It's all about progression, not about the past. So I'm leaving my past behind, and it's time to elevate and integrate and experiment.
I hope you'll never find it. My son, what have you done to this you? Fucked it up and you cursed the kiss you. Took your shot